insane to think about that a character like Flock that we are introduced to in Season 3 of Attack on Titan that gave the impression of a throwaway character that would be thrown to the wolves, a character that would die off screen, a character that wouldn't necessarily be important, is such a centerpiece and in the big spotlight of Attack on Titan Season 4, and technically leading the Jaegers right behind Eren. It's crazy to think about. It really just goes to show the level of writing quality from Isayama and how he can make characters that you wouldn't really think too much about come to be something so important that you can no longer overlook them. It's incredible, honestly, and it makes me appreciate Attack on Titan even more. It makes you respect some of these minor characters that eventually rise to a certain degree of power, and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe they used to be this in the past. Because, once again, when we met Flock, he was a character that was just there getting a pep talk from Erwin Smith to lead the charge, to die amongst, the Beast Titan. It's insane. So, just... yeah, next time you think about, fodder characters within a story, sometimes maybe cut them some slack. They might be more important than you actually realize. But anyways, I want to get into some of the major discussions of this episode of Attack on Titan. And that is the Gabby scene. I think many are going to be talking about this, because it's incredible to think that how much development Gabby has gotten, and how the perspective of Attack on Titan has shifted to such a degree. We have seen that there's been a lot of nods to politics within this series. We've seen the nods to the cycle of hatred. We have seen the nods to just how violence only breeds more violence. These are themes that do happen often in a lot of different series, not just anime and manga. But Isayama, it's very clear by the way he has written Attack on Titan, he has crafted in such a way you can really feel his opinions on all of these different topics, especially with the scene with Gabby within this episode, with her basically being held and potentially about to die within this episode. We get to see just how far someone could be indoctrinated to think they're in the right, and also how those very threads of indoctrination could be undone in just simple words alone and simple actions. It's incredible. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Gabby, as we know, she did something very despicable episodes ago. We know what she has done to Sasha. We know she is responsible for an iconic character that many people loved met their unfortunate end. And thanks to this, obviously the community has been under heavy debate since the very beginning of Gabby's actions. For instance, is Gabby a good person, a bad person? Is she a good character? Is she a bad character? And as I've already discussed myself, I think she's a bad person, but I think she's a great character, because she really brings to, everything to perspective. Like, everything that's happened within the series, she's just another example of that. It's like cycles, I've mentioned. We know that cycles have been a theme in Attack on Titan even before Season 4, this final season. We have Titan Shifters and how they have to have their jobs replaced. Eventually, they pass down their power to the next person in line. We know about how rulers are. For instance, Historia, they have to pass on their line. We know how the Survey Corps is. You have the old guard that used to serve underneath Levi and Erwin Smith. Eventually, they all die off and people have to replace them. Basically, old age and welcoming the new. And this is a theme that's always been presented in Attack on Titan for a very long time. It's always something to where history repeats itself. There may be some differences, but overall things do typically go the same exact way. And when you see Gabby's perspective, you see where the cycle somewhat breaks, but also continues as well. And to explain that is everything about the discussion of how the father technically was the bigger man, and is like, we will not do this to Gabby. She does not deserve to die. I don't want that to happen to someone. He realizes that it's like she's been forced propaganda since an early age, that she believes that everyone is a demon around her less than human if they are the opposing enemy. So he doesn't want to shift all of that onto Gabby. It's not her fault entirely, and it's definitely something that would take a really big heart and a lot of strength and willpower to be able to achieve. Because let's be honest here, we can easily say, oh, you could be a better person, you definitely would be that type of person like Sasha's father within this episode, but until you're actually in that position, you truly will never know what you would actually do. This is why cycle of hatred and all that is a constant, even in real life. Why it happens to this very day is because of actions we literally saw within this episode of Attack on Titan. And seeing the father play the bigger man is emotional because he forgave the very person that ended his daughter. And what he tried to make way with this and say in his own perspective is that Sasha, when she was young, she was constantly providing for the family. She was hunting and all that, and she was gaining food for them. And eventually he realized that Sasha wouldn't be able to stick to this lifestyle, stay in this little netted forest with the family. So he kind of shoved her out of the nest, so to say. And as she was shoved out of the nest, she eventually became a soldier. She became someone that was doing the hunting and hurting others, and then she was the one that was hunted, and then we know what happened to her. And his analogy is that he has regrets, that technically it's thanks to his actions why Sasha even committed some of the bad things she's done throughout her life, but also for her life to meet such an unfortunate end. And he's like, even then, she made these decisions thanks to what I wanted or what I said to her and then her ideals of propaganda from an early age. And he kind of regrets and blames himself, but he's like, we don't want to make the same mistakes. We don't want to continue to make the same mistakes. And so it's the job of the adults to shoulder the burden for the younger generation. It's the actions of the adults that really shift the children's perspectives into a better direction. Example, seeing Sasha's father do that in front of his entire family lets everybody, at least his family, see that there's more than just getting vengeance. There's more than just hating someone. There can be love, there can be life. And when you look at that, it shows what type of man he is, and he's putting on a really good act as like, yes, this is what we should do. We shouldn't have to constantly resort to this cycle of violence back and forth. However, when you see the girl that Sasha saved charge Gabby at the end of the conversation, it shows another perspective. It shows that even if someone is good, evil is still born. And I like this perspective because it's not naive. It's what happens. Because no matter how much good there is and how much you try to really put good in things, there is others that will have their own reasons and do just the exact opposite, great evil. And that's basically what was going on there. And when you look at the perspective of the girl that was going and lunging at Gabby, we know her perspective and why she would be upset. She's upset because someone that literally saved her life died in such an awful way. And died because she was fighting an opposing side, and then she was punished, and the reason why she was fighting is because they're being blamed for the actions of people that lived so many thousand years ago. So why do they have to fight in this ridiculous battle? We know the perspective of the girl, why she is upset, and then being around the very person that, is acting like this, it made her even angrier. So when she lunged at Gabby, it's understandable, this rage, this anger. But at the same time, if she would have committed that act, all it would have done was probably breed more animosity and anger in the opposing side. Falco would have probably became a lot angrier. He might have become very cold. He might not be someone that is open-minded to both sides. He might have just straight up started to hate everyone on Paradise Island. And this is how the cycles repeat. And even though, once again, like I said, the father of Sasha proved a really good perspective and showcased that there could be goodwill even to those that do us wrong, at the same time, even if you do your best, there's others that will try to take action even without your will or what you care about. They'll just go against it. So yeah, I really think the Sasha stuff is really deep, especially everything wrapping around Gabby. I love Attack on Titan for that. It really kind of presents a lot of hard questions, hard answers. And as I've talked about, Isayama, you could feel his perspective, his opinions, his emotions on these topics pouring through with the writing of Attack on Titan. And you can see that he's basically saying in his own whimper that there is no good answer. There is no good answer for either side. Vengeance, no vengeance, evil and good, it all happens. Both sides, people pick sides, tribalism, everything. There is no right answer. It happens. It's what we are as a species, as humans in general, and that's kind of what he's trying to paint. It seems very sad and depressing to think about, but it's clear that's what he's trying to say in his own words. But getting into some other things, I want to talk about the Flock stuff, and then also the scheme with Zeke's spinal fluid. So, we get to see that there's been a major buildup for a while now, that Zeke's spinal fluid has been kind of incorporated into the wine that was being given to the higher-up officials among the entirety of Paradise Island, mainly to the military police. What this effectively means is that if Zeke actually connects his way to the past, like he said at the beginning of this episode, and awakens the spinal fluid within them, it will turn all of them into Titans. And if that indeed happens, effectively all of Paradise Island's main military police, their main head honchos, will cease to exist. They'll just be gone in a fraction of a second. So you can kind of see how deadly this is. Literally imagine getting rid of the entire military command in a second thanks to someone else just initiating a command. That is absolutely frightening to think about. So, because of that, you see the true danger now, that everybody is in a trap. Zeke has everybody hostage. Is there a way for them to actually get rid of that spinal fluid out of their body, or are they permanently a slave / hostage to Zeke? See, that is a question that appears thanks to this episode. But on top of that, does Aaron know about this? Does Aaron know about this devious plan that Zeke has obviously done? Is Zeke himself actually aware of this plan? That is another question, because we gotta think about that too. Even though it is Zeke's spinal fluid, it's clear that he wants to do something with Aaron. He wants to experiment and try things with Aaron about, how to use, the rumbling and all that. And the question is, does he know that his spinal fluid is being used in this way? And if he doesn't, what does this necessarily mean? Does this mean that this is Aaron's plan? He's doing all this? Or is there another sub-faction within the Aegis that is doing these despicable things behind even Aaron's back? For instance, is Flock doing this stuff with the wine and, the spinal fluid? Or is it just Zeke? See, there's so many questions and so many things to consider thanks to this episode. So yeah, just Attack on Titan keeps on giving high-quality things back to back. But Attack on Titan, as always, it's great, and I love the hardball stuff. I know not many are probably going to enjoy these episodes as much as I do, because I'm one of those that like this darker perspective of stories, this cry out, basically, seeing the darker aspects of humanity and all that. I love those type of stories. It's interesting. But I know not many are going to like this episode, the previous episode, and the direction Season 4 is taken, because of how real it feels, and how it really meshes with what's currently going on into today's society. So, I do think it's interesting, but I can see why many might not like Attack on Titan with these recent episodes. But I think I'm gonna leave it at that, though. But I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you got this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. It does help me out a lot. It helps with the algorithm. So any comment, any like, anything you do does help out. And with that, guys, be safe. Chibi out.